She left home to collect a package for her son's third birthday, but she never returned home. Today we will be focusing on the gruesome death of Simone Hackett, a mother who was taken far too early. Simone was born on November the 15th, 1990. Now, her father's name was Gerald Hackett, but there was no reports, like I could not find her mother's name. But what I do know is that she was raised by her stepmother, Mala Mohabir. So in her teenage years, she attended Covent Garden Secondary, and after she graduated, she went on to attend the University of Guyana. Now from her photos, I saw that she did a little bit of modeling. I don't know if it was serious, but there were some photos of her on a stage, and she was absolutely gorgeous. But she was just such a happy person because in all of her photos, she was smiling. You could see that her family meant a lot because all of her photos involved her family members. So Simone was raised alongside two other siblings, and I'm not sure whether they lived with their father and their stepmother full time, but I do know that the stepmother Mala was a part of their lives for Simone's entire life because her father Gerald and her stepmother Mala were together for 25 years. So Simone was such a beautiful girl that she ended up attracting an older man, and this man was older than her by 12 years. His name was Cleavon Hamilton, and you know, they fell for each other. Now I'm not sure how long their relationship lasted, but I do know that they brought a beautiful baby into the world. On April the 17th, 2013, Simone would give birth to her son, her pride and joy, and his name was Cleavon Hamilton Jr. Junior became her everything. He was her blessing from God, and she was just so content and happy now that she had her son. So we know that not every relationship is built to last forever, and this is what happened to Cleavon and Simone's relationship. They did not last forever, and they eventually split up and they went their separate ways. But what we do know is that they did come together to co-parent their son. So in 2016, Simone was a teacher and she lived in Seafield, Sophia along with her family. Her family, they were such a close-knit family. So anything that was happening in Simone's life, her family knew about it. So at the time, her family were planning two big events. Her sister was getting married and her son was turning 3 years old. And Simone was completely excited for these two occasions. Her sister asked her to be her maid of honor, and of course, Simone said yes. So she was happy to perform her maid of honor duties. And as the day drew closer, there was just so much joy and happiness in the home. But sadly, Simone would not be able to perform these duties, neither would she be able to see her son turn 3 years old. Because on April the 16th, 2016, Simone would leave home and she would never return. So at the time, Cleavon was working in Mahdia, and whenever he had to send anything for Simone for her to get for their son, like money or any gifts, he would have to do that through other persons. Like, you know, when persons in the bush, if they're sending out something for the family, they would have to do it with whoever coming out to the bush at the time. And that's exactly what was happening for Cleavon and Simone. Whenever he needed to send something, he would send it with somebody. So we know that Junior's birthday was coming up. He was becoming a big boy, a young man. He was going to be 3 years old, and so Cleavon got some money and he got some raw gold that he was going to send to Simone for her to make some jewelry for Junior and, you know, to help with the birthday celebrations. He told Simone that he would be sending the package with a man by the name of Dexter. This is just somebody that was working in Mahdia that he could send it down with. So all Simone had to do now was sit down and wait for Dexter to call her. Now the day before Junior's birthday, April the 16th, Cleavon called Simone and he told her that Dexter was on his way to town. So just listen out for his phone call. So now Simone just has to wait for Dexter to call her. Now it would be sometime between 8 and 8:30 p.m. that Simone would get the phone call from Dexter telling her that he was almost there and that she could come out to UG Access Road to meet with him. So Simone told her family, you know, Dexter called and she would be on her way and she's going to be back just now. She left and she made her way to Sophia UG Access Road. So even though this Dexter person told her that he was on his way, Simone was left standing from sometime between 8:30 and 9 all the way up to 10:10 because she would call her family during the time that she was waiting. She called her family and she told her, man, I still waiting on this person, he ain't come yet. And they were telling her, man, come home, don't bother with it no more, you can get it some other time. But you know, she said, man, I'm gonna wait a little bit more. So she kept waiting for Dexter. She called her father during the time that she was waiting, and her father well, she wanted her father to come and pick her up, but he had already gotten home, so they just told her, man, come home, catch a taxi and come home. But she said, man, she can be all right. She can make her way home, and she's going to reach home back just now. So while she was waiting, she ended up calling her family a total of 3 times. Yeah, she called her mother first, she called her father, and then she called her mother again to say that, you know, she ain't even seeing the person coming, and they told her to come home, man, don't bother with it, you can get it another day. But sadly, Simone did not make it home, and she would never be seen alive again. So a source close to the family stated that at around 10:10, Simone's phone called her mother's phone, and they were not hearing her talking. You know, they would be saying hello, hello, but all they heard was like background noise, and they did not know what they were hearing at the time. Now, when Simone did not return home on April 16th, her family began to worry, and they knew that Simone would never do something like this, so they knew something had to happen to her. So the next morning, they went to the police station and they reported Simone missing. So on Tuesday, April the 19th, 2016, while school children were making their way to school, 2 children came upon a decomposing body. Now, when the alarm was raised, obviously Simone's family would make their way to the site because she's been missing for 3 days now. And when they got there, they would positively identify the body as belonging to their beloved Simone Hackett. But who would do such a heartless thing to such a loved person? Obviously, the family was inconsolable, but they wanted justice for Simone, and they had a clue who could do such a thing to Simone. Cleavon Hamilton, the father of her son. So according to the family, Simone had actually left Cleavon a year prior to her death. He was abusing her, and she was tired of it. You know, she could not allow her son to see her in this kind of position, so she left him. And they were also in a heated custody battle over their son, because Cleavon wanted Junior to live with him in Madia, but Simone refused. She said, this is my son and he's going to stay in Georgetown with me. And it was decided that Junior would stay in town with his mother, but during the school vacations he would go to Madia with his father. So allegedly, another relative stated that at one occasion Cleavon had taken Junior to Madia and was keeping him there, and Simone had to travel all the way to Madia to get her son back. And while she was there, Cleavon took her travel documents and hid them so she couldn't leave. But eventually she found them and she was able to make her way back to town. And I remembered while going through, you know, her photos that are still public, there was one photo that she posted with her son standing next to a suitcase, and the caption was like, finally the battle is over, or something like that. But I'm gonna find it. Obviously I'm gonna blur his face out because he is a minor, and it's just sad that he lost his mother, so he doesn't need this kind of attention. But I'm just gonna post the caption, like what she wrote. But you could, and what I'm thinking is that this was the photo she took when she finally got her son back. Her mother Mala even reported that just weeks prior to her death, Cleavon had threatened Simone and told her that he was going to hurt her just because he did not get his way, and he was not gonna get his way. He was not going to get his son to take to Madia. So all of this, because he was not getting his way and because he could not have Junior for himself, that made him resent Simone for this. And these are all of the things that caused the family to believe that he was responsible for this. And they aired it. They aired their views. They told reporters, they told the public that they believe that Cleavon has something to do with the death of Simone. But at the time, he was in Madia, and remember, Simone was killed right in Sofia. So how could he be 2 places at one time? So remember, Simone said that she was going to meet with a Dexter. But who is this Dexter? And was Dexter even a real person? No, Dexter was not a real person. When investigations were done, obviously Cleavon was one of the first persons that was taken into custody to be questioned. And the police said that, you know, they can only hold him for 72 hours because they don't have any evidence yet to say that he's involved in the crime one way or the other. But they eventually got the evidence they were looking for. In Madia, a vehicle was found and there was blood all over the seat. The owner was wanted to be questioned, obviously, and he eventually went into the police station at Madia and he told them what happened and where the blood was from. So allegedly, according to the taxi driver, Ranachal, he was working in Georgetown and Cleavon hired him to go to Sophia. He said that he was instructed to go to UG Access Road, and that's when Simone entered the vehicle. Now, while he was driving, he said he heard Simone shout, and Cleavon told him to drive to a dark spot between 3rd and 4th Street, Commons Lodge. He said that when he got there, that Cleavon dragged the body of Simone out of the vehicle and dumped her body in a trench. He said that he also took her phone and threw it at another spot. But while, police were investigating, and they did not find where her phone was. So now the police knows what happened to Simone and how she met her demise. And obviously, now that this taxi driver has corroborated, that he knows what happened to Simone, obviously they're now going to question Cleavon, and he was holding out that he did not know what happened to her, but eventually he broke down and he confessed to killing Simone. So according to sources close to the police, when they questioned Cleavon, he stated that on April the 16th, the entire Saturday, he was in a hotel in Georgetown, and when night fell, that's when he took a taxi and he made his way to Sophia. Remember, there was this Dexter person she was supposed to be meeting? No, he was the Dexter that he told her to meet. So he said that when he got to, UG Road, he came out of the vehicle and the two of them were talking, and they were walking in the southerly direction. And the two of them were just having a normal conversation. But then it turned into a heated argument. He said that when they got to a dark spot, he choked her from behind, stabbed her to the neck, and then slit her throat and dumped her body. After dumping her body, he made his way back to the taxi, where he instructed the driver to take him all the way back to Madhya. But if you hear, there's a bit of contradiction between his story and Ranachal's story, where Ranachal is saying that she was stabbed in the vehicle and he's saying that she was stabbed at the side of the road. But I'm more inclined to believe that she was stabbed in the vehicle and then he dumped her body, especially since there was blood found on the seat in the vehicle. Ranachal and Cleavon were charged with her murder. I don't know how long they were charged for, but they were both charged for murder. If you know what their sentence was, you can please leave it down below, and I'm going to pin your comment so that other persons can see their sentences. Simone was taken too soon by someone who was jealous of the fact that she was moving on without him. He was just angry that she would not budge on custody of her son. He thought that he could get away with killing Simone by creating this false alias of Dexter. The actions of Cleavon did not just affect Simone. He took both parents away from the same son that he wanted so badly for his own. Junior is now forced to grow up without the mother whose entire world revolved around him. But at least Junior has his grandparents who were able to gain full custody of him after his mother's death. Mala, his grandmother, she did explain to him what happened to his mother, but she doesn't like to talk about it too much because it just makes her so sad. It just makes their family so sad. So they try so hard to bring him up to be the young man that his mother would be proud of. So even though his mother is gone, Junior still has a family that would go to the ends of the world to protect him, and that's all we can be thankful for. All Simone wanted to do was to see her son grow up, but that opportunity was snatched from her. Simone may be gone, but her memory will forever live on.